1 Million Cups Grand Strand is this is our very first launching event here on the Grand Strand. It encompasses anywhere from Little River all the way to Georgetown. And there are 77 different communities across the nation right now that 1 Million Cups exists in. 1 Million Cups started out in Kansas City, and they have been growing since 2012. We're very excited to start here at the Grand Strand. We have two presenters today. Randy Hollister will begin. He'll be talking about Growler Chill, a really interesting twist on beer growlers. And then we'll have David Barry talking about augmented reality after that, or virtual reality, excuse me. Both. After that, there'll be a little short video in between the two. If anybody has any questions throughout the presentations, please feel free to ask. Otherwise, we'll begin. All right, everyone. Again, we have David Barry who's going to be presenting right now on virtual reality and augmented reality. So welcome, David.
As you said, my name is David Barry. My company is ARK, stands for Augmented Reality Community Advancing Developing Environments. I know it's a mouthful. Just try to find me an acronym that would fit with arcade. As she said, I work in the field of augmented reality and virtual reality. Now, for those of you that don't know what those are, this is the Wikipedia definition of virtual reality. Now, I have an easier way of explaining it: the Matrix. Everything that you look at is computer generated. So whether it's the other people in the scene that you're in, whether it's the walls, the objects you're interacting with, it's all digital. Augmented reality, again, the Wikipedia definition. Again, not worth reading, it reads like stereo instructions. Easier way to imagine it: you see the real world, you see the digital content overlaid on top of the real world. So that's the difference between VR and AR. Now, I work with both, whether it's print media such as this, flyers, business cards, magazine articles, ads. You aim a smartphone device at this, it will actually, with a free app, it will actually trigger, this paper becomes interactive. Buttons appear, video plays right on the paper. That's a form of augmented reality because you're going to see the flyer, you're also going to see the digital overlay. I also deal with virtual reality devices such as the Oculus. This is the DK2 Developers Edition. This is the Samsung Gear VR. This one works directly with my cell phone. My cell phone attaches directly to it. There's no power in this device at all. Just slides in, connects to the mini USB port on there, clicks in. That becomes the view screen. It's split screened to your eyes. Now, I didn't make any of these. What I do is make the environments for them. I do that for industrial training, sports training, medical training. But the device that I'm excited to tell you about is this one here. This is Microsoft's HoloLens. Now, this is an augmented reality device as opposed to this headset here, which is a virtual reality device. You cannot see the real world. The Microsoft HoloLens, you can see the real world, as well as digital content that's been overlaid on top of it. And unlike this, which I have to connect to a computer, the Microsoft HoloLens, go ahead and pause this real quick here. The Microsoft HoloLens is an entirely self-contained computer system. You wear it on your hip, goes to the headset, and you are completely mobile with your experience now. As you can see here, this is his little weather app that's sitting there. You saw the things hanging on the walls. Those are all digital, but interactable. With the HoloLens, it enables voice command and gesture command. So being able to overlay digital content on top of the real world, you don't have to buy a big screen TV anymore. You put on your Microsoft HoloLens, you can make it the size of your wall. You got to get up and go to the bathroom, bring it with you. Now, this is very important here, what I want you to see. This also allows real-time or separated time collaboration. So this is an industrial design scenario where she is working on designing a tank for this motorcycle. Now, she is able to overlay a digital hologram that is anchored in the real world to that motorcycle. So as they're designing, That is what she sees. She sees that tank. She is interacting with that tank in 3D in her digital design. And she's able to collaborate with somebody else. So she can look at a spot, leave a memo for him. The next guy comes along, he plays that memo. He can see right where she was standing and looking at that part of the object that she was working with. This is going to enable many things that were never possible before, such as remote assisted medical assistance. So I live in the mountains in Kentucky, and my wife's giving labor, and we can't get down the mountain to the nearest hospital in time. I could put on this headset and have a doctor in a remote location actually walk me through everything I needed to do. He can see what I can see, and I can see what he wants me to know. That is really a game changer as far as training goes. Whether that's the fields of industrial training, sports training, medical simulations training. And so while I handle things in all of these fields, I do virtual reality training simulators for SIMT out at Florence Darlington Tech. I'm an advisor to Coastal. This is one idea that I've come up with that really I think we need. These are state-of-the-art medical simulation mannequins. You can intubate them, that's putting the tube down the throat for breathing. You can put IVs in them, you can get a pulse off of them, you can listen to their respiration, their heartbeat, you can zap them with the paddles. All of that can be done to these mannequins. But if there's one thing that you notice about all these mannequins is they're all pretty much Ken doll pink. So you can't judge things like jaundice, asphyxia, or like in the case of this baby mannequin right here, you see they got some blue LEDs under his cheeks to simulate for what's called APGAR testing, where they're figuring out how healthy is this brand new baby. And one of the things they're checking is the coloration of the skin. Well, if I'm a medical student, I can tell, are the LEDs on? Yeah. Are they on at full strength or not? You know, so it doesn't actually give you that analysis. With, as you saw with that tank, that motorcycle tank, we can overlay digital avatars on top of these mannequins. So I can make that mannequin no longer look Ken doll pink. I can make him look like a 73-year-old man from Pakistan or a 24-year-old man from South Africa. So the level of diversity training that's available to us at that point is exponentially more than what we have right now. I can also add in things like jaundicing, swelling. I can even put wounds, so full triage for emergency room scenarios. All of that can be done with these digital overlays. Doesn't like me much right now. So you see here, I mean, these things are connected to a computer. They actually have pre-programmed scenarios. So we can have people crash and then zap them. With mine, not only are they getting the physical muscle memory of doing this, they're getting training that's just not possible today. So I grew up, I go to school, I go learn these techniques, but when I get into the real world, none of these patients that I'm going to be dealing with look like that. Now they have microphones in them and speakers, so the instructor can actually be the patient, can say, yeah, I'm having trouble breathing, things like that. This allows us to actually put in grimaces of pain in their face. Things like that. So the level of realism that's possible, because we use a video game engine that is full cinematic quality to do this. It's just going to change completely the fields of medical research. Now we'll also be able to do that with things like 3D printing a skull. Out at SIMT they have multi-material printers, so we could actually 3D print a skull with a brain inside of it. and do surgery training without having to have a cadaver to work on. So I'm here mostly just to tell you about the future of what is possible here. The HoloLens, the device I'm talking about, doesn't come out until first quarter next year, and that will just be a developer's edition. So I'm really at an early stage here talking to you guys as far as this project goes. But for the virtual reality training and augmented reality training stuff that we do, we're already well underway with that. We have projects that we've done for Fortune 500 companies. Due to NDAs, I can't say the names of the companies, but it was through SIMT that I did that work for them. I mentioned earlier sports training. One of the projects I'm working on involves a device called the Myo armband. This armband goes around your forearms and actually senses what your arms and hands are doing, whether you're making a fist or opening your hand, tapping your fingers. So with that, we also have an Omni treadmill. It allows you to run in any direction, but you're not going anywhere. So with these things, we can do shoot, no shoot training for law enforcement, private security firms. We can do training for special operations forces, where we can actually take blueprints of the building that they're going to, drop them into the VR simulator, and while they're in their C-130 flying to the location, they can actually be training as if they were at that location. All these things, not only are they possible, the hardware is either already existed in existence, or it is going to be first quarter next year. We have a sports training program for quarterbacks. So those sensors on the forearms, that Omni treadmill, the VR headset. Now I'm the quarterback and I've got all this on. I'm in that treadmill. I can do every bit of this. I can sense when he goes like that, start the play, and we can actually film real life plays and put the player in that. So if they are injured and you want to keep them up to speed, they can actually go through those plays. I can heat track their gaze and see how long did they look at that wide receiver. Did they remember to check their check down? Did they look at the linebacker before the play and see if it was going to be a blitz? All these things are possible and really exciting and a lot of fun. I believe the one question that you have is how can 1 Million Cups and the tech. I'm looking for people with programming skills and 3D design skills. But with the world of VR and AR, what they're teaching in the colleges and high schools today are not the proper techniques. Stuff that's designed for a computer is not designed for mobile. And so whether it's designing the car that's going to be in that video game, if I was making that for an Xbox or for the PlayStation, I'd have so much detail in that car, it'd be amazing. But on the phone, I can't do that. So the techniques are just not being taught right now. I actually work with the Boys and Girls Club. I'm teaching game design at the Boys and Girls Club a couple of days a week, just so that I can get access to some kids with the proper technique, even if I have to train them myself from the ground up. I've hired interns. I've had 3 interns. Every time I get one trained, they leave. So I really need this community to embrace the technology in the way they have been steadily growing their embrace over the past couple of years. Really have enjoyed working with the Tech Council. But that's all I got for you today, guys.
Thanks.
Questions?
Very cool technology here, so we'll open up the floor for questions.
Oh yeah, and I'll let people get inside VR after the meeting if anybody wants to try it out. I have some really cool experiences. I can put you face to face with a 12-story dinosaur. I can put you in the Arctic Ocean face to face with narwhals and sharks and killer whales. I can put you in the middle of a Cirque du Soleil show that was specifically designed for the VR headset, where they do theater in the round in reverse. Instead of the audience being all around the show is going on all around you. So you sit in a swivel chair and you can spin around and watch the show. Can't even see the entire show in one sitting because there's stuff going on all sides of you at all times. So, yeah.
So, what do you think is going to be the, how should I say, where do you think monitors and screens are going to be in 10 years?
Non-existent.
Yeah.
really, I mean, as you saw with HoloLens, the way he was able to take that TV screen and resize it, or that. Those are just Windows Universal apps. So any Windows app, I can hang right there. So I can put Skype up on my wall, and when I walk into my living room, like, oh, I gotta call Grandma. And boom, say, call Grandma. And boom, now I've got it, and I can walk over, and now I'm chopping up carrots for my stew tonight, and still able to talk to Grandma. You know, and with the medical field, say you are now fully scrubbed, and you're going in for surgery, and you want to relook at an x-ray, or you want to get an outside consultation. Now you're fully scrubbed, so you can't touch anything. But now you have a computer monitor that you're able to hang inside of your vision that you can use voice and gesture command to interact with. Whether you're a plumber sitting that is now going to be guiding people through changing out their neck in their sink, you will be able to remotely be employed guiding them through that, using your 30 years of experience you had before you retired to guide people through these solutions. Yeah.
So you mentioned a bunch of different applications that you can do. Arcade, what direction are you focusing on as a company?
Simulation training. Really, that's our focus, whether that be medical simulations with the mannequins, whether that be simulations for industrial training. Say you have a manufacturing plant that runs 24 hours a day. How do you train that next shift? So we actually recreate the assembly line in VR. And then we put them inside of a VR system. And they're able to interact with and engage that machine. We can hang up videos that explain what these controls do. They can interact with the controls and see the results of what they've done. And that allows them to be familiar with the equipment, both in procedure, like you would be from watching a video and reading a manual, but also with the kinesthetic muscle memory of having been there and been interacting and engaging in that 3D environment.
Ken, did you have a question?
Yeah, that box on the desk, is that Google's?
Yeah, so this is Google Cardboard. iPhones don't have a solution like that. And this is Samsung devices only really that have that. There's a number of different devices out there, but this is Google Cardboard. You simply stick your cell phone right there, close it up, and you now have VR, which she actually tried it out with her iPhone yesterday.
Very cool.
And said, I want one. So yeah, this is Google Cardboard. You can get them from China for about $3 and put them together yourself. All they are is a couple of lenses and some cardboard. Or you can buy them from a website like Dodo Case for $20. This one also has on the side a magnet. So it actually, with NFC enabled devices, this allows me to tap the screen by just sliding this magnet. That separation of the two magnets creates a signal the NFC reader interprets as you tapped the screen. We also have devices like this one. For those of you not familiar, this is the Leap Motion Sensor. I put my hands above it. It individually recognizes all 10 fingers, my wrists, the orientation of my hands, so I can type on a virtual keyboard. At my daughter's school the other day, I did a marionette puppet show where I was controlling the puppets with my hands onto their big screen. And so they're seeing and getting to say, oh yeah, pick that one. And so I select it, and then there we go, I'm playing with puppets. Piano trainer, my daughter's actually using that to learn the piano, which is nice with her headphones in. I don't have to listen to a keyboard. So a lot of these different devices, as I mentioned before, that Omni treadmill is a really interesting one that enables a lot of different types of interactions. This will show you the Omni, an early prototype of the Omni treadmill in use. From a different presentation. Oh, So this is the Omni treadmill. He's in a climbing harness in the center of it, adjustable heights, things like that. Special shoes that have a high friction surface on one edge and a low friction surface on the other, and that allows you to run in place in any direction, spin around anywhere you like. So in the world of VR, that translates to when I walk in the real world, I'm walking in the game world or the simulation world. When I run, I'm running. When I crouch, I'm crouching. When I jump, I'm jumping. So video games are changing as well. You are no longer the couch potato playing the video game. Of course, there's been the Xbox Kinect and the PlayStation Move for a long time, but this is actually translating your body's motion into the game's control.
So what about tactile feedback? Say I'm doing something in VR and I go to pick up a virtual cup or whatever.
So there's a number of different devices right now that are competing for that space. The Oculus has the Oculus Touch, which is basically two joysticks you're holding and a ring around them. And so you have something you're physically grabbing and being able to push buttons on. That's one way. There's also some gloves and things like that that have been developed to provide haptic feedback. My personal preference is actually Vortex air cannons to provide a lot of your haptic feedback sensation. They're very simple, easy to use, and don't have any chance of hurting you, but with a simple blast of air, we can simulate touching you. And with actual tracking, Disney's done a lot of work with this as far as they'll project a butterfly on your hand, and you can feel the wings fluttering. As you move your hand around, that butterfly is still on your hand, and it still feels like it's fluttering on your hand. And they're doing Vortex air cannons to handle that. Anybody else? All right. Well, thank you guys for your time.
Thank you all for coming out. I just wanted to talk a little bit more about 1 Million Cups. We had a little bit of a sound issue earlier, so I'll just fill you in on what that was. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, 1 Million Cups is a national program. It's free. In most communities, it takes place once a week on Wednesday mornings. Here on the Grand Strand, we're on a monthly model, so we'll have our events the first Wednesday of every month. Next month, it's December the 2nd, 9 a.m. We already have a presenter lined up called auditproposal.com. It's similar to Angie's List for auditors and accountants, so please feel free to come out and join us for that. Again, I want to thank you. It's individuals like you who come out and support these entrepreneurs that really help to drive the entrepreneurial ecosystem here on the Grand Strand that the Grand Strand Tech Council is trying to create, and Startup.SC.